Hi, this is Tony from BesideTheFrontDoor.com, and I've had some questions about pH in regards to fertilizer. Now, your fertilizer and your pH are connected, but not the same thing. Fertilizers give you a certain volume of actual nutrients. The pH has to do with your soil chemistry and if those nutrients are going to be able to be available to the plants that are there. If your pH is not in the range that the plants that you're growing like it to be, you can have all the fertilizer in the world on there, but it won't be available for your plants to use. So first off, you should go ahead and get a pH test. You can either do an entire soil test with your local extension agency, or you can go pick up a single time test at your local garden center, or you even have the new ones with the probes that are reusable. If you're using a probe for pH meter, one thing you have to remember is the soil needs to be moist for it to be the most accurate. So water down that soil, wait a couple of minutes, and then put the probe in to test. And probe in a couple of areas just to check for consistency. Now, once your pH is in the proper range for what your plant's like, if you have acid-loving plants such as blueberries and rhododendrons, azaleas, camellias, they're going to want a lower pH than most of the general plants. General plants that don't specify liking a lower pH are going to want to be somewhere around the 5.5 to 6.5 pH range. The blueberries and acid-loving plants like it to be down below that. Now, another question people have is about pine needles and the pH. Using pine needles as a mulch helps to keep that pH down if you're trying to reduce the pH of your soil. But it's not enough to go ahead and reduce a pH that's too high. It helps maintain the pH down there, but it's really not going to make a huge difference to reduce it if the pH is really too high. Now, one thing to also remember is changing the pH of your soil is a lot like turning the Titanic, especially if you have a clay soil. That soil chemistry just really fights to return the pH to wherever it was. So this is something that's not going to be a one-time shot deal, and it is also not going to happen quickly. It's not going to be a case of you apply a soil acidifier or some soil sulfur, and then the pH is down, and you check it the next day, and it's right where you want it, and that's it. This is a slow process. It takes months for that soil chemistry to change. So it's slower than just you apply fertilizer and then the fertilizer is there. The soil acidifiers take time to take effect. Now, if you are trying to change your pH in the other direction, if you're trying to raise the pH of an acid soil, such as the soils that we often find in the Northeast, we always know that we add the lime to raise that pH every year. We just know every year we're going to need it. Always test your pH, but you're pretty much going to have to lime, such as your vegetable garden, every year, just to keep that pH to where the plants that you're growing are going to like that. Now, if this information was helpful to you, please click like and subscribe, and let me know of any questions you have that you want me to answer. Until next time.